I've spoken on forgiveness a great deal of times before. Not a great deal of times. Oh, I mean, no, I haven't spoken on forgiveness a great deal of times. I'm sorry, I've spoken on it once. I'm going to speak on it again, though, because I've come to some more epiphanies about forgiveness. And this is going to be centered around Charlie Kirk and the many enemies of Christianity right now. If you do want to see somebody die an excruciating and painful death, just watch them die of old age. You shouldn't want people to die of excruciating and painful deaths, but I'm going to throw it out there that old age is a very terrible way to go. Now, we think of the suffering of Charlie Kirk, shot in the neck. I saw the videos. It seemed rather quick. His enemies are rejoicing that he died a painful death when really he didn't. And why you shouldn't retaliate, I'll give you a few reasons, but one is if you want to watch someone suffer, simply let them die of old age. Now, I know leftist violence is out of hand right now, but there are a lot of consequences for those actions. And I'm going to urge people not to retaliate in an extra legal way, an illegal way. It is illegal to kill people, but being outside of the law, I just want to use that term extra legal as well. It does kind of seem like the right has very much gone in a much more Christian path in recent years. It does seem like the violence has quelled, and I'm kind of hoping the violence quells but the far left as well. It seems like Nick Fuentes is kind of backpedaling on a lot of his rhetoric, and it does look like Hassan has also backpedaled on his calls for violence, and Destiny's now joining in on that as of, I think, yesterday, which was the 21st of September 2025. Now, I'll give you a bit of testimony, a bit of a confession. I used to be a leftist back in the days of the Trump first ran in 2012. I was a libertarian then. I was largely a leftist, going to vote for Bernie Sanders back in 2015 before the 2016 election. But, and I will admit that a lot of the fellow leftists that I knew at the time, we were seeing a lot of violence against Trump supporters. And when there was a Trump rally coming to San Jose, California, where I was from, I had leftist friends who told people, don't be violent towards the Trump supporters, don't give our city a bad image, but that failed. And I kind of realized then, seeing that, I was very ashamed. I thought, my city's going to be different. The people there are very well-educated, very sophisticated, but I was wrong. And I kind of subscribed to that belief that smart people don't partake in, dumb, mindless violence. But, Nazi Germany and the Salem witch trials, those people at the time, Nazi Germany, they were very smart. They're a very smart society. The Puritans in New England were some of the most well-educated people in the world at the time. But I thought, these people can't be in power, and then I said, I'm not voting for Bernie Sanders. I ended up voting for Gary Johnson back in the 2016 election. Things kind of went through a pipeline. I would consider myself at that time, for the next 5 years, to be on the far right. Though I never got into, white supremacy, and I never really believed in all that incel bullshit. But I was a total edgelord, and unfortunately, and I gotta say this about the right, we never glorified somebody's assassination, but we did glorify deaths. And you gotta go into the deep crevices of the internet now to kind of see that happen again. But you had Stone Toss doing the crab meme about RGB. Ruth. I can't even. I'm having a mind cramp right now, but Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Yeah. They were like, yeah, we're going to be excited once she dies. And, John McCain, I got to confess, I was like, oh, hell yeah, John McCain's gone, because I hated the neocons and neolibs, but that was kind of my attitude back then. I was a secular guy. I became Christian in 2022. But, the right kind of does have a track record of violence, too. I would say it's less, but there's been equally horrific things, like with Dylan Roof shooting up that church in Texas, and then you had that guy up in Buffalo who shot up that grocery store. I saw that video. That was kind of fucked up. Like, not gonna lie, that was horrible. But I feel like since 2020, the right's largely gone Christian, and it's kind of a lesson in patience with God's plan. Like, I don't want anyone to retaliate over Charlie Kirk's death, because his death is very fruitful, and we shouldn't do something profane to that sacrifice. Largely, we have a lot of Christians who are... Sorry, I thought I saw something. We have a lot of people who are saying, I'm done with the left. A lot of people who are like, I'm going back to Christianity, and we shouldn't spoil that with anything violent or evil. What else was I gonna say? There's somebody doing something out there, and I'm like, what are they doing? But now it's fun. Anyways, if you could go back to Sodom and Gomorrah, and you knew that there were like thousands of righteous people living in those cities, like, God can destroy that city. You shouldn't be afraid of God killing the righteous, because he can easily resurrect them and care for them. But at the same time, you would try to go to that city and try to save all the righteous people you could. And that's why we really need patience to save all the righteous people we can before ultimately evil is put to the sword. I'm not a pacifist. I think pacifism is an egregious sin. But there's a reason that God takes so long to destroy evil. And that is to save as many souls as he possibly can. A lot of people saw this. It's echoing all throughout the world, and people are now accepting God into their lives. So that's why it shouldn't be spoiled. I've probably forgotten to say something because I didn't write anything down, but that's ultimately the message for today, is that we got to we're going to see that evil grow, but we're also going to see it's going to get more profound, but it's also going to shrink in size. It's going to become a very concentrated population that will ultimately be dealt with. And they will live in shame for the rest of their lives until they repent. And I don't think they are, but we'll see. Anyways, goodbye.